everyone, and welcome to Total Football Talk. I'm Anthony.
And I'm Eric.
And we're going to do the preview to the games, which is kind of something I miss doing, and I'm glad we're doing it. Obviously, with the Eagles and Giants, we wrapped up with that one yesterday. We talked a little bit about that game. That's already happened. So I'm going to jump right in to the NFC South and cover a few of these games. So Tampa Bay's at Atlanta. This is a situation where I'm starting to notice the Falcons are becoming the Pittsburgh Steelers. Their offense is unstoppable at home, and then they go on the road and they forget to show up. Unfortunately for Atlanta, their defense isn't showing up whether they're home or away. So that's bad news. Now, this is Jameis Winston's return, official return to division play at least. What's the Buccaneers' record under Winston so far, Eric?
He hasn't started yet this season.
That's what I thought. And this is his first official start.
This is his first official start after coming off a 3-game suspension and coming on in relief of Ryan Fitzpatrick in week 4.
Right. So I have said this since he was at Florida State. Jameis Winston is overrated. He's not talented. He's not very good. And he makes really bad decisions at moments when he has protection. He doesn't make smart decisions when he's under pressure. And he doesn't make smart decisions when the pressure is minimal to high. He doesn't hit the right receiver, no matter what the situation is. Unless his name is Mike Evans, he can't find anybody else on the field half the time. He's had a couple of big games, but we can officially now state that Jameis Winston is a BUS bust. And the fact that the Buccaneers are going back to him over Ryan Fitzpatrick, who I know has struggled, who's also got his share of problems, and they're going into Atlanta, I think the Falcons' D is going to get right. I think Atlanta's going to win this game 34-10.
Yeah, Jameis Winston all-time as a starter is 18 and 27. So I know he came in mop-up duty. Listen, the Bears defense was going to destroy anybody who was back in the Tampa Bay pocket that was passing before their bye week. So, I mean, he looked decent. Yeah, he had 2 interceptions, but he was finally getting the rust off, and I think they knew that Fitzpatrick's time was up. And I think this is a smart game for Winston to be in because he gets an Atlanta Falcons secondary who is really completely bagged up, and I will keep saying it until the cows come home, until next season. So yes, he does like Mike. He does like Mike Evans, but he is more of a Deshaun Jackson fan as far as passing goes. And then when he gets to the red zone, man, he looks for his tight end. So look for a big game from either O.J. Howard or
Cameron Brate.
Because in the red zone, man, he just loves throwing the break. And I expect Tampa Bay to be fully immersed in Atlanta's red zone quite a bit today. But I do like Matt Ryan. I do like Julio Jones. I do like Tevin Coleman. I do like Austin Hooper. I do like Calvin Ridley. More in this game as far as who wins. And the Bucs take the big L in the Mercedes-Benz Stadium down in Atlanta. Or actually, I should say up in Atlanta because it's a north travel for Tampa. They lose this game 41-31.
Wow, see, you got a high-scoring game. I do.
Defense very optional.
Yeah.
I think that Atlanta might take the field without its defense for 1 or 2 series to see if they can still stop Tampa.
I think Winston's good for too many interceptions, and I just don't think he's got. Atlanta at least can put pressure on the quarterback on the outside, and hopefully they can do that. But we'll see. So we agree on the victor. We just don't agree on the outcome.
Right, but I do tend to think that Winston got his picks out of the way. Is he good for at least a pick in this game? Yes. I just don't know who on Atlanta's secondary is going to actually pick it off from him since they don't even know who they're starting out there in their secondary. So when you're using a bunch of backups, yeah, you know what, they want to play hard. They want to put good gameplay on tape in case they're free agents next year, or Atlanta's thinking about coming back. Say, hey, go look at that Atlanta Tampa game in that we played in Atlanta in week 6, and let's show that highlight reel of this this backup safety, and what he could be a really good player for us down the line. But Atlanta, they need to score to keep up, and Tampa's offense has been explosive. You wouldn't know that in week 4, but in the other weeks, they were able to put up some points. They put up 48 on a Saints team. They put up 27 on Pittsburgh, but obviously
different quarterback
going in.
Right.
Right. So we'll see what Winston can do. Again, I think it's a good game for Winston to get in. It's not like they're playing the 2000 Ravens defense where here you go, Jameis, have fun. It's against a defense that he is very familiar with the last 6 times out that he's faced them, and whether it's in Tampa or in Atlanta, I do expect Winston to put up some numbers, especially a lot in the second half. So I think they're just going to be playing catch up.
All right, I got the next one that we're covering is Carolina at Washington. Now, this is interesting to me because Washington is also a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. They seem to be a completely different team at home than they are on the road, unless they're playing Arizona. But then again, that's everybody when they play Arizona. Carolina is a different team on the road than they are at home. So you'd look at this on paper and you'd say Carolina should win. But the Panthers have won 2 of the last 3 games in Washington. And I really believe that Jay Gruden is coaching his final season as a Washington Redskin head coach. I don't know if you can fix all of those holes that he had against New Orleans in time for Carolina. Not to mention, you've got a quarterback in Carolina that can run all over the field. You've got Christian McCaffrey who can run all over Washington. So they've got to make another commitment. Are they going to commit to the pass and get burned by the run? Are they going to make a commitment to the run and get torched by the pass? Washington's defense is scary in its incompleteness, if that makes sense. It's not a complete defense. It's got a really good player in the front 4. It's got a really good player in the linebacking core. Well, good to really good. They've got a really good corner. They've got a good to okay safety. And that's it. And they smoke and mirrored everyone for the first 4 games of the season, being the number 1 defense in the league. I got Carolina going into Washington. I expect them to rush for over 200 yards. I think Cam's good for over 200 yards passing. And I got Carolina winning this game 27-13.
Really good corner on Washington. Are you speaking of one and only Josh Norman?
I think he's really good. I know his interceptions aren't there, but I like him. Yeah.
No interceptions since 2016.
I know.
In the previous show, he also got benched in the Saints game on Monday night for wearing headphones in the locker room at halftime, and Jay Gruden had to rip them off. Yes, he's really good. Makes great decisions, too. Listen, it's just one isolated incident. I'm just giving you crap.
I know.
But, Josh Norman, when he's on, yes, he is good. I guess it doesn't matter who Norman goes against because the wide receiver really isn't going to get much play. They really got to get DJ Moore in the slot and let him run because that's their wide receiver of the future. Go ahead and put Norman on punches. We'll probably have about 30 yards receiving. He's not the wide receiver that Carolina is looking for. However, Carolina does get a jolt back into their offensive lineup, and Greg Olsen comes back today and is supposedly going to play majority of the snaps. Ian Thomas filled in great for Greg Olsen, but Greg Olsen is Greg Olsen. I know he's in his mid-30s, but he's still a good receiving weapon. And yes, McCaffrey, just let him run with the ball. On those second and short, third and short, fourth and short, give it to C.J. Anderson and let him plow through and pick up that first down yardage and send him back to the bench. I like Carolina in this game. More of a low-scoring game. I like this one 23-17.
Wow. So we're close in prediction. All right, Eric, I'm actually going to drop a stat, so I want you to talk about this game first. Seattle at Oakland in London.
Seattle versus Oakland in London. Technically, a home game for the Oakland Raiders. So let's see. Go from the Western time zone across the Atlantic to play a home game. Sorry. It makes complete sense.
Right?
Anyways, I've mentioned this in the last couple of shows, but Seattle runs the ball 58% of the time. And the way they were able to run against the Rams with Mike Davis and Chris Carson, I expect the Seahawks to do the exact same thing to the Raiders. A lot of ground and pound, a lot of ball control. And I see Seattle winning this game, actually, 24-16.
So here's what I want you to look for in this game, Eric. Now, normally you get this by creating turnovers. But this statistic favors Seattle more than Oakland. Seattle is 15-1 all time against the Raiders when they force 2 turnovers or more. The Raiders are 3-0 against Seattle when they force 3 turnovers or more, and they're 9-0 when they force 2 turnovers, 1 to 2 turnovers. So this is a series where it's feast or famine on the turnover thing. Now, the Raiders are not as bad as their record indicates. Seattle is not as good as their record indicates. The Raiders supposedly can run the ball. Now, Seattle looked great last week in stopping the Rams. So I have a question for you before I get into my analysis here. My question for you, Eric, is this, and I'm sorry that my voice is squeaking like I'm going through puberty again, but let me ask you this question. Okay, I guess the way I want to phrase it is this. Were the Seahawks playing well last week because it was the Rams and they're not really okay with turning over that mantle that they know they've given up and they're trying to reclaim it, so they were a little more amped because it was the Rams? Or is that the Seahawk team moving forward that we can expect? Your input.
More of the Seahawks team that you could expect. Listen, they don't have the offensive weapons. They have to rely on the run game. They need to keep Russell Wilson upright if they want to have any shot. Yes, you still need to pass the ball. It's still technically a passing league. They're running the ball at a higher rate than any other team right now in the last 3 years. That even includes the Bears last year. So I think you're going to see a lot more of this Seattle team, what you saw against the Rams going forward. And I think they're going to utilize their running backs, which include obviously Carson and Davis, and also throw in Rashad Penny as well.
They need to use him more. They need to see what this kid can do. Look, here's the bottom line.
He ran great at San Diego State during his tenure there. They just need to get him going and figure out what is causing him to not be the running back that they thought they were drafting.
So here's my take. The Raiders lead the all-time series 29-25 and 0. That's the all-time series. The Raiders lead 29-25 and 0.
29-26 soon.
I think so. But let me explain. Seattle's never won more than 3 games in a row against the Raiders. I think they won last year. I think they're going to win this year. The reason I think they're going to win this year is the Russell Wilson factor. The Raiders, I believe, are going to keep it close. I think that they're going to be in it till the very end in the fourth quarter. But as the Raiders have shown their inability to get pressure on the quarterback, and they really could use a pass rusher, Eric. I'm just saying.
Yeah, right.
That, in my opinion, is going to be the difference in the game. I think the Raiders are going to have the lead late. I think they're going to be up 17-13. And I think Russell Wilson is going to march them up the field. He's going to find Lockett in the end zone with about 45 seconds to go in the game to go up 20. Well, they're going to go for 2, and I think they'll probably get it. So I could see it being 21-17, maybe 19-17. but ultimately the Raiders won't have the ability to go up the field and try to steal one from Seattle. That's the way I see this game breaking down. I think London's going to get a really good game. It's kind of fun to watch this rivalry play out, and it is still a rivalry, make no question about it. But the Seahawks dodged a bullet not having to go to the black hole. Getting to go to London is a benefit for them because I think the Raiders might have been able to get Seattle. I would be more inclined to think they could get Seattle if it was in Oakland. But being in London, I just think we're going to see Russell do what Russell does. Because I know the Raiders are capable of keeping it close, but that's actually a bad thing against Seattle. That's what, in my opinion, made Jared Goff's performance last week against Seattle so amazing. Not that he snuck the ball from 6 inches out, but how he consistently drove that team up the field and retook the lead in the fourth quarter against a team that looked like they might have been pulling away. That comeback in Seattle and then to stop Seattle from coming back was awesome. But I don't see the Raiders having that kind of ability or that potential this week. So I'm going to go ahead and pick Seattle to win that game as well. Now,
all right, so I do want to correct you on some things. The last time these two teams played was 2014. Seattle won 4 in a row, 78 and 79 seasons.
Oh, okay. They swept them in 78, 79.
They won 3 in a row, 84, 85.
Well, that's the one. That's the one I saw. That's the one I saw.
And four in a row, 88, 89. Then Seattle went on a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8-game losing streak.
Right.
To the Raiders. Yeah, Seattle was bad at that time. And then finally broke it, and then they won another 3 in a row, 96 through 97.
Okay, I just didn't scroll down far enough. All right, so the most they've won in a row is 4.
Correct.
Okay.
And the most Oakland's ever won in a row was 8.
Yeah.
Again, that was
back in the early
90s.
The bottom line is it's been a really even series. And it's been turnovers, feast or famine. Because if you combine the two teams, when they get 2 turnovers or more, they're 24 and 2 combined. So, that's going to be the key in this game. And I just don't see the Raiders getting turnovers. They haven't been all year long. I mean, I guess they have, but the offense hasn't done anything with them, and that's the other part of the key to that whole equation. Look, I'm weirdly excited about this next one that I want to talk about. Now, these two teams met in Super Bowl III, and the Colts, of course, lost the game. And some people, if you don't know the history, let me give you a little bit of history. Some people think that game was fixed, that Don Shula was told to lose the game because, and that it would be made up to him later, but that they had already merged the AFL and the NFL, and they needed the AFL to have credibility. This is the theory. And in order for the AFL to get credibility, they had to win the Super Bowl. And they kind of told Don Shula, hold off on that. Now, there's something interesting to this. I wouldn't normally bring up a story like that if I didn't believe it. And the reason I do believe it is because of Bubba, not Bubba Paris, but their defensive tackle, Hightower was his name, but his nickname was Bubba. He had been dominating the Jets every time he played inside. And the Jets were, of course, running the ball with Matt Snell. Now, they couldn't throw on the Colt corners very well, so they leaned on the running game. So Bubba goes up to Don Shula, and he's like, put me at defensive tackle. I can stop him. I can stop Snell. Move me from end to tackle. I can get it done. And Shula refused to do it. Now, at halftime, the statistician said, look, every time Bubba plays inside, we're holding the Jets to 0 to 1 yard rushing. Every time he's playing defensive end, they're picking up 4 yards a clip. Don Shula still, despite that information, didn't make the move, which caused a lot of speculation. They think Earl Morrall might have been in on it because his interception that he threw on the trick play was so egregious. So there's a lot of theory behind that. But then these two teams got in the same division, and it relatively was uneventful, in my opinion, until about the 1980s. There was a period of time from 87 to 92 where these teams were about as equal as you could get. And Eric Dickerson had some great games against him. Ken O'Brien had some great games against him. But these two really didn't like each other, and it was kind of, it was one of those rivalries you didn't notice. And now that they're not in the same division anymore and they're playing for the second year in a row against each other, you're kind of noticing. So I think it's going to be a fun game because you've got Andrew Luck against Sam Darnold. And I don't think Sam Darnold is necessarily – I think it'll be a big step. Let me say this. I think it'll be a big step for Sam Darnold to play against Indy the way he did against Denver. I don't see that happening, not because Indy's a better defense, but because I don't know that he can be that consistent. I like Frank Reich as a coach. I think the Colts are due. I think they're going to lean on the running game a little bit. I'm telling you right now, watch out for T.Y. Hilton. I think Andrew Luck is going to, start to knock off some of that rust. And I got the Colts winning this game 21. I'm going to say 24-21. I think it's going to be a fun game.
Yes, Anthony, watch out for T.Y. Hilton as he's out for this game and still in Indianapolis. So he's not playing. So they're going to go with.
Well, hold on. When did the injury happen?
2 weeks ago.
He was questionable on Monday.
He didn't play. He didn't play last week against New England.
Oh, I know that, but he was questionable on Monday.
He never got enough practice and reps and healed enough to play in this game.
Well, that's stupid. All right, well, then that changes things. If T.Y. Hilton's not playing, he doesn't have an outside threat. I'm going to go Jets 27. I'm going to go Jets 21-13. Because that makes the difference.
Thanks for interrupting and taking my pick.
No problem. Thanks for the information.
Upset special. I'm taking the Jets in this game. Again, Indianapolis, actually, they will be getting Marlon Mack back in this game, which I don't know how much that helps the run game because 19 Hines was doing a great job. And if I were Frank Reich, I'd be like, listen, running back job is yours until you're tired, until you get nicked up, until you get an injury. It's yours because you add an offensive dynamic that Marlon Mack doesn't, and that is you can run the ball inside, you can run the ball outside, and you're a great pass-catching back. Well, now they're going to bring Marlon Mack back, and he's going to start. 19 Hines is going to see a lot of action, but he's not Marlon Mack. He's better than Marlon Mack. And if they're going to put Marlon Mack on the field, I would guess run 95% of the time. But when you have Chester Rogers, and you have Ryan Grant, and you have Zach Pascal. Jack Doyle is not expected to play either, and you got Eric Ebron. Yes. Andrew Luck's going to put up numbers like he did against New England. But I think the Jets are actually going to pull this game off because Indianapolis' defense isn't all that it's cracked up to be. Isaiah Crowell is expected to play after rushing for 219 yards against Denver, and they're also going to spell him with Bilal Powell. Well, if Flintstone Nunley's shoulder is a lot healthier because last week he had 5 targets, no catches because of a shoulder injury. I also heard he's dealing with a hand injury as well, so I'm not sure how much this is impacting his ability to catch the ball. And he's out there like a dummy wide receiver. But that also, if he's a lot better, expect some catches for him. And I also expect to see Robbie Anderson with another long catch and run for a touchdown. And when I say that, I mean more than 35 yards or more. So I expect the Jets to win this game 26-19.
Okay. Well, according to Frank Reich, on Monday, T.Y. Hilton's projection was to start. They felt like he was recovering nicely, but they needed to see him in individuals. And I guess things went downhill from there. He didn't do the individuals. And then on Thursday, when players are supposed to report for practice, he was ruled out for Thursday's practice. That's why they decided not to play him. So Monday, everything looked good. So something must have happened in the rehab process while he was healing. Who knows? Maybe there was a personal issue. They tend not to report those things. So, look, to me, T.Y. Hilton's the difference because he can take the top off and you can run the ball. If you don't have T.Y. Hilton, none of those wide receivers scare you. You could play zone coverage, mainly cover 2, because they ain't got no one that's going to beat you deep on a post route for cover, so you don't need to worry about cover 3. And the difference between cover 2 and cover 3 is that safety has to play back a little bit longer than he does on cover 2. I mean, the one of the corners. So you can use that corner for run support without putting 8 guys in the box. And if you put 8 guys in the box, you can still use that corner to come up as a 9th guy in the box because the safeties have deep and the corners have mid. So I don't see how the Colts can win without T.Y. Hilton in the lineup. I was convinced he was going to play. I didn't follow up with that, so I apologize on that. But whatever the injury may be, what was the injury, Eric?
Chest and a hamstring injury.
Oh, I wonder if the hamstring got tweaked. Could be. Hamstrings stick with you the whole year long. They're like...
Yeah, he had extra time with that game on Thursday night against the Patriots. Kind of like about an extra 3 days or so. But they also called him on Wednesday a long shot to play Sunday against the Jets.
Oh, so that changed from Monday to Tuesday, probably. Okay. Well, it's good to have that information. So, yeah, the reason I interrupted you, Eric, is because I don't think it's an upset. Without T.Y. Hilton, I don't think that the Colts have enough offensively to really threaten the Jets. And when you can play with 9 guys essentially in the box, you're going to stop any running game. And I still don't think Andrew Luck's shoulder is – I don't think it's ever going to be back. I'm going to call it like I see it. You've had 2 years with this thing now. Last year you didn't play at all when you were supposed to return week 1. That told me something was really wrong. And then this year he just hasn't looked good. So I think that's a problem. So I don't think it's an upset at all. I got Jets winning 21-13 or 21-14, something like that. Maybe even 21-17. But it'll be close. Arizona at Minnesota. We touched on this game a little bit. I dropped this statistic, and then you followed up with one. The Cardinals have not beaten the Vikings in Minnesota since 1977, I believe, or is it 76? I think it's 77.
Yeah, 77 or 78.
Yeah, so this is, I think it is 77, because that was the year the Vikings lost to the Rams in the Mud Bowl, 14-7. Look, Minnesota showed a lot last week against Philadelphia. And looking at how Philadelphia played on Thursday, you got to think that the Vikings have something there. But look, there's really not much to analyze here. The Vikings defense is just so much better than the Cardinals offense that when you have that kind of a mismatch on the field, it's one thing when the mismatch is at quarterback versus quarterback because they're not on the field together. But when the mismatch is this clear on the field, I see David Johnson getting, maybe 30 yards rushing. You've got 3 advantages for Minnesota here that I think is going to lead to a Viking whitewash. And I'm going to call it right now. I think it's going to be 41-7. The Viking defense is so much better than the Cardinals offense. Zimmer is so much better of a coach than Wilkes. And those corners in Minnesota are so much better than the Cardinal wide receivers. I'll throw a 4th one in there. The Vikings wide receivers, I'm going to say it right now, Eric, and you're probably going to disagree with me. I think the Viking wide receivers are the best wide receivers in football. I think they're better as a combination than Brown and Smith-Schuster and Julio Jones and Sanu and A.J. Green and Boyd. They don't get the pub, but I think they're better. And I'm sorry, but Patrick Peterson, he had a great Pro Bowl last year. He had 2 picks showing that he's not quite done yet, but he can't cover both. And then you've got Rudolph, and then you've got potentially Cook out of the backfield. If he is officially back, I'm starting to wonder my own reporting now. Kirk Cousins, it's not even close. I mean, there's not much to analyze here. The Cardinals are a friggin' train wreck.
Well, listen, I'm not going to disagree with you at all regarding Thielen and Diggs. They are a great duo, and they are scarcely good every time they're stepping on the field on the offensive side of the ball. Adam Thielen is the first player to open a season with 5 straight 100-yard receiving games.
Awesome.
Think about that.
That's awesome.
That. Jerry Rice never did that.
Well, he's going to break Rice's record at this point.
Any of the other great wide receivers never done that. So Brown never did that. Jones never did that. Green never did that. And, you can go back and go back to any other great wide receivers.
Don Hudson never did it.
Yeah, exactly. Adam Thielen's the first. And it was 1977 the last time the Cardinals won in Minnesota as the old St. Louis Cardinals.
Yep.
So that's telling you how long it's been. I expect, I've said this a couple of times already, that the Vikings, the reason why they've lost games was because of their defense and not their offense. And Cousins has played well, Thielen and Diggs has played well. Dalvin Cook is going to be back today, but on a limited pitch count. He's going to play approximately half the offensive snap. So you're going to see a lot of throwing by Cousins, and I'm going to assume you're also going to see a lot of throwing by Cousins in the second half. They want to get Cook on the right track. I would also get Latavius Murray running as much as I could too. And if he is struggling, then I might look at my third running back. Latavius Murray needs to get going. This is a great game for him to get going in.
Mm-hmm.
The Cardinals, they are going to lack a lot of offensive snaps because their defense is going to be on the field 80% of the time.
Maybe not. The Vikings may get a lot of one-play drives,
There's always the chance for that. This is kind of I know Larry Fitzgerald is from Pittsburgh, but this is kind of a homecoming game for him as well.
Yeah.
I know he wants to put up some big numbers. He was the ball boy back in '98 up in Minnesota, so he saw a lot of Randy Moss and Chris Carter, and he wants to perform well if he has any family that's coming to this game.
Oh, I'm sure he does.
But I'm sure he's excited to be playing in Minnesota again. But maybe a few catches for him. But I don't really see the Cardinals putting up much of a fight, except for before the game starts, where it's actually going to be the closest at 0-0. So I see the Vikings putting up a lot of points, 45-10.
Okay, so we got a similar score, 41-3, 45-10. All right. Eric, I'm going to touch on this game second, but I want to start with this, and then I'll turn it over to you. So I'll end with a question to lead you in and then let you talk about this game. The Bengals made a believer out of me last week. And this game, to me, it matters, but not as much. It's hard for me to say that because they need to win this game to get over the Pittsburgh Steelers bugaboo and really bury them. But if they don't, I don't think it's going to hinder the Bengals' opportunity to make the postseason. That's why I don't think it's as significant from a make the playoff standpoint. From a win the division standpoint, this game couldn't be bigger. Now, Andy Dalton said, and I'm quoting, "We cannot get excited until we sweep the Steelers," end quote. In reference to how he feels about the team this year. That says a lot to me. They don't want to just beat Pittsburgh once. They want to beat them twice. And I don't know if that's the driving focus for this football team this year. I guess we'll find out. But my question for you leading in is, I believe this is probably the biggest divisional game of the day. I don't think there's any game out there. I don't even know if there's many divisional games besides this one, actually, now that I look at it.
Tampa Atlanta is a divisional game.
That's it.
And then...
That's it?
Yeah, that's it.
So I would argue this is probably the biggest game of the day as far as, potential swing for one team over another in not just the division race, but emotionally. So my question for you is this. Do you see a different Bengal team in 2018 than you've ever seen? Or is this going to be the game that determines that for you? Go.
I see a different Bengals team this year, the way that they have played offense, especially the way they played offense since Bill Lazor took over as the offensive coordinator. And I think Marvin Lewis is a lot more calm. He's a lot more, okay, we're going to take what we can get, and we're not going to push. Because if we push, that's where the turnovers come. And they pushed, and they're only lost this year so far. But he's got the Bengals playing with the right mentality and the right mindset, and playing very turnover-free football. Now, I know Dalton's had, he had four turnovers against Carolina. He's had a pick here or there against Baltimore, but they didn't hurt them. They were still in the game against Carolina, but, they made the score close. But Carolina seemed to be more in control of that game. So, yes, this is a different Bengals team. This is the Bengals team that could really put a dent in the division today. And they could put the NFL and, more importantly, the AFC on notice today that they're for real. Listen, what I think Cincinnati needs to do is say, you know what? I don't care who we're playing. I don't care what the all-time record is against who we're playing. It's 0-0 starting today. Yeah. Because if you let the mindset of, Pittsburgh's owned us, and you let that get in, and you let that creep into your mind, okay, you're going to play a little timid. You're not going to hit as hard. Because this is always a hard-hitting series. No matter who is getting knocked out, whether it's legal or illegal, and I hate to say that because I've seen way too many illegal hits in this series. Now for history. Pittsburgh leads the all-time series 62-35. Pittsburgh, including the playoffs, have won the last 6 and 9 of the last 10.
Wow.
So there is some Pittsburgh mentality in this game to where the Bengals just need to go out, trust Andy Dalton, trust the play calling, and if they're able to control Joe Mixon, and I know Mixon ran his mouth a little bit last year, I'm better than Le'Veon Bell, and I'm going to put out the stats to prove it, and then he was shut down. Well, that was the first game, and then the second game is when Ryan Shazier went down, and that Pittsburgh defense hasn't been the same. Because last time they were in Cincinnati, that's when Shazier got injured.
Yeah.
Cincinnati is going to have – I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. Cincinnati is not going to have John Ross in this game. So that takes a little bit of a weapon away from them as far as down the field throws go. But they still have A.J. Green, which they have held in check, the Steelers have, the last few meetings, where A.J. Green has not gone off like we know A.J. Green can. Which this is the perfect Tyler Boyd game. Because if you get Boyd early, as far as throwing the ball to him, which opens holes for Mixon, and you keep throwing to Boyd, that's gonna move the coverage from A.J. Green to Boyd's side, and then Green will be left one-on-one, where Pittsburgh won't be able to cover over the top on Green. So I expect to see a big first half from Boyd, a big second half from Green, and a lot of running in between. I'm not saying 100 yards for Mixon, but 75 with a score I could see. And as far as the other side of the ball, Pittsburgh's got the offense to keep up with Cincinnati, and I also think Cincinnati's got the offense to keep up with Pittsburgh's offense as well. So I think the offenses are going to kind of cancel each other out. We all know what Big Ben is like on the road. He is not the same quarterback when he's standing in Heinz Field. Ben's also dealing with a little bit of a blocky elbow, which, I think he's going to have to throw a lot this game. But I do think that they're going to get Connor involved early and let him run the ball. And when they need a completion to Brown or Smith-Schuster or James or McDonald, he's going to be there. So I also expect to see quite a few screen passes to James Conner. But all in all, this game comes down to defense. And I like the Bengals defense over the Steelers defense. This is going to be a 24-23 Bengals victory.
Wow, you got a close game too. Look, for me, the Steelers defense, they have troubles. They can't stop the run, and that's the Shazier effect, as I like to call it. They can't stop the pass. They haven't been able to all year. They've had a couple of moments, like against Atlanta, where their defense looks like maybe it's been turned around. But I don't think that the Steelers have the offensive firepower, sustainability-wise, to keep up with the Bengals. And what I mean by that is, obviously, they can score at any point. They've got Brown. They've got Roethlisberger. They've got Connor, who's proven to be a really good running back and, beat cancer. It's a great story. But sustainability. The Steelers' offense this year has gone missing for quarters at a time. And I think that that's a telltale sign. And I see that happening. I see the game breaking down in a way where the Bengals have an opportunity at the end of the game to run Mixon and run out the clock, and I think they're going to do it. I got Cincinnati winning this game. Again, it's close. I got them winning 34-28. I think Boyd's going to have over 100 yards receiving and a tutty. I think A.J. Green's going to have about 70 yards and 2 touchdowns, and I think Mixon's good for a touchdown. And I think they're going to kick 2 field goals. And I got them winning.
The average score for this game is typically around 22-17.
Yeah, but
Pittsburgh has scored over 2,100 points. Cincinnati scored over 1,700 points in 97 meetings all time.
Right, but these defenses this year aren't the same. And
they're not the same, no. And that's why I think you're going to see, 3 touchdowns by Cincy. One by Mixon, as I already said, and then 2 passing touchdowns by Dalton, and then a field goal that's going to end up winning the game for Cincinnati.
Interesting. Well, we got a similar score. So 34-28. I got the Bengals winning that one in a great one. The Chargers at the Browns. This game I find to be interesting on 2 fronts. I think Cleveland is an improved football team, but I think Cleveland has 2 fundamental problems going against them. They do not turn turnovers into points, and Hugh Jackson is their head coach. On the other side of the ball, you've got the Chargers. Phillip Rivers will throw interceptions, but he will also come out and then complete 17 in a row and score 3 touchdowns or 2 touchdowns on those 17 straight completions. So I think the Browns defense is good. I think this is their first real test of the year, and I don't think it's going to measure up. I think the Chargers are going to go in remembering that they were their only win until this year over a 2-year period. I think that sticks in their craw, and this is the very stadium they lost in Week 15 in 2016. So I think the Browns are going to play tough, but I think that the Chargers are going to play mad. I think Gordon's going to have a good day, over 100 yards rushing, over 100 yards receiving. I'm calling it right now. I got the Browns losing this game 24-17.
Make it a close game with Gordon having over 200 offensive yards, which actually surprises me. I'm going 34-10, and I like the Chargers in this game. I like them as a revenge game. I like them saying, "Hey, you know what? We're in the AFC West. We need to perform like it, and we need to win the games that we need to win that are on our schedule." Again, I see the Chargers. They can pull out 10 wins to get a wild card. They're 2.5 games behind Kansas City. This is a game that if they lose to Cleveland, count them out of the playoffs. Count them out. They're done. You can't go into Cleveland, lose, and then expect to play in the playoffs. You can't do this. Oh, well, we're just going to show up when we can. Chargers are very famous for doing this, and they can't. Yes, run Gordon, run Eckler. Throw to Keenan Allen. Throw to Mike Williams. Get Antonio Gates involved in the red zone. Make sure that you put this game away early. You let your defense pin its ears back and take over. I know Joey Bosa would love to be playing in this game because he gets to go home to Ohio and play in front of a lot of people, but he's out until November with a foot injury. He would love to play in this game. The other guys on defense have to step up. And the only offensive guy on Cleveland that I can see having a good game might be Jarvis Landry. But the Chargers have a cornerback by the name of Casey Hayward who could shut him down. Yeah. And if you're able to shut Jarvis Landry down, then you have a really good shot at keeping Cleveland to a very low score.
Watch Derwin James this week. I think he's going to have a pick and a fumble, if not a forced fumble. One of the two. He's either going to have a fumble recovery or a forced fumble and a pick.
I mean, Cleveland is playing inspired football because they know they got a couple wins under their belt. They have their quarterback that they really didn't expect to start this early. As I predicted, Week 6 would be the time Baker Mayfield would
take the field.
Starting quarterback in Cleveland. I was about 2 weeks off.
Yeah.
And Baker is going to be good. He's going to turn the tide around. And if you watch the last show, you'll remember me saying that it's 2 years after Hugh Jackson is gone where Cleveland's really going to take off.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't happen this year, they're going to keep setting themselves back. But I think the Chargers have too much firepower on offense to where Cleveland could keep up. Again, I like the Chargers in this game big, 34-10.
Buffalo at Houston. I don't think that the Bills have much of a shot to win this game. I think that the Texans' defense is going to put a lot of pressure on Buffalo's offense. I don't necessarily think Buffalo's defense is going to get torn to shreds. I think Jackson, however, is going to have a big day. I think that they're going to have control of this game early. Look for them to jump out to a 14-0 lead and then kind of smooth sail it the rest of the way. I know it's a weird score. It's a gut feeling. I could totally be wrong. But I got the Texans winning this game 21-3. And I just think they're going to look at Deshaun Watson and go, you don't need to do much this week. You had a great first quarter, so look for him to get hot early and go, we're not riding that because we don't want an ACL injury to flare up and we don't want the injury to get re-aggravated. We're just going to try to find a running game somewhere knowing that the Bills have no way to move the ball on offense. They're just totally inept. And I think that the Texans D is going to have a field day. If you have Texans defense on your fantasy team this week, you're going to have a really good day. I got 21-3. I got 21-3 Texans.
It's not the ACL injury that they're worried about in Houston. It's actually the chest injury that Deshaun Watson got against Dallas when he took a ton of hits. This is the perfect game to get Lamar Miller and Alfred Blue a lot of touches. Now, Houston obviously is an AFC team, and what do AFC teams like to do? Oh, they just like to pass all over the place. That's why I believe the Saints are the perfect AFC team because they're just like an AFC team. With Drew Brees, they just pass the crap out of the ball. And I think that's what Houston's going to end up doing in this game too. But they should limit Watson as much as they can. Will they? No. Watson's got too big of an ego to say, you know what, we're playing at home. We're playing against a Bills team that, their number one corner can shut down Hopkins, but Hopkins is really good. So they're going to do probably a lot of underneath Will Fuller and Kiki Kuti. Miller and Blue should get over 150 yards on the ground. Will it happen? Nothing has shown me that Lamar Miller is the answer in Houston anymore. That this could be the Alfred Blue show. If this game were in Buffalo, I'd give the Bills a lot more of a shot because of what they did against Tennessee last week when they won 13-12. But it's not in Buffalo. It's in Houston. I've seen what Josh Allen has done on the road, seeing the Minnesota game, where he laid a goose egg in Green Bay. And I don't think Green Bay's defense is the greatest, but they played well in that game. The Texans have a lot more playmakers in this game, especially on the defensive side of the ball, with Watt, Merciless, Clowney, and I could go on. But those are the three big names on that side. Mm-hmm. So shut down McCoy, shut down Ivory. That leaves Josh Allen by himself throwing two. Oh, hey, look, Kelvin Benjamin. Yeah, I could cover Kelvin Benjamin.
At this point.
Okay? And I've never played a snap of real football in my life.
All right.
So I see the Texans winning this game 28-7.
Okay. So you got a relatively similar score. I was worried my 21-3 score was a weird one, but I mean, I guess it is in a way. But Chicago at Miami, 1985. Remember that one?
We already have our loss.
Yeah, you're good. But this is going to be the reason you don't win you don't win home field advantage because you're going to beat the Rams and make them 15-1. No. Look, I want to say a couple things here. It's going to be fun to see the Bears back on the field. Eric, you said the bye week couldn't have come at a worse time for Chicago. I think we're about to find out. Here's the interesting thing. When I went through the Dolphins' schedule this year, I had Miami 3-3 by week 6. Now, one of their victories I had over Chicago, but I did not have them winning. I think it was week 1. I can't remember. There was a game earlier this year that I didn't have them winning that they did win. Now I'm looking at these two teams, and I can in good conscience pick Miami to win this game. So the 3-3 record stands through 6 weeks of the season. I was just wrong on two particular games, this being one of them. Chicago's defense can put pressure on the quarterback. Tannehill, from what I understand, isn't even playing this week. Tariq Cohen is a weapon that the Bears are trying to find a way to use him like Tyreek Hill. They don't want Cohen to be Tavon Austin. They want Cohen to be Tyreek Hill. So I think they're going to continue to work that, but they've been very clear that Howard needs more carries, and they're going to work on that. So the Dolphins are in trouble in that regard because they can't stop the run. And, Trubisky's got a defense that you can throw on. Just ask Jordy Nelson and the Raiders. So I know it's in Miami, and Miami plays tough at home, but the Bears' defense is out of control good. And I see this game not going well for Miami. I got the Bears winning this game, probably something to the effect of, I don't think it's going to be a big scoring game for Trubisky like it was before. I see them winning this game 20-10. And I just think that it's going to be one of those games where the third and fourth quarter, after being tied at halftime, the Bears are going to get a field goal or a touchdown and then kick a field goal late and just kind of get that separation. But I don't know. Honestly, if Miami doesn't run the ball, I don't know how they score. This could be 20-0 Bears as well. I mean, they've got to find a way to get the ball down the field. And I like their offensive line in Miami versus the Bears' front four, but they've got one other guy coming off the edge who's lethal, and that's Khalil Mack. And I think that that's going to be the disrupting factor. Chicago going into Miami has history, obviously, but I think the Bears are going to show everyone, hey, we're for real. And for them, they're going to know by the end of 1 o'clock where they stand in the division, because other than Green Bay, everyone plays at the same time. So I think Chicago's going to see that they have to take care of business, and they're going to take care of business. And I think Miami, they're going to fall a little bit further behind New England, but I think they know they've got New England coming into their house later in the year if they're going to make that ground, and I think they will. I think this is going to be a team that really turns it on the second half of the season. I could see them struggling through the first half of the season, 4-4, 5-3, and then really turning it on. But this is not a game I see Miami winning, especially without Tannehill. Take it away, E.
This is one of a handful of teams, less than a handful of teams, that the Bears have a losing record against, 8-4. Series started in 1971. The Bears lost 4 straight from 71 through 85. Didn't win their first game until 88. Since then, in this series, the Bears have lost the last 3 out of 4 games, with their last win coming in 2010, when Brandon Marshall was on the Dolphins, Jay Cutler was on the Bears, and they went down to South Beach and they shut the Dolphins down. Listen, we're a long way from there. The Dolphins are down with Tannehill. Cutler's on a reality TV show. And the Bears have a legit freaking defense. The lone bright spot for the Dolphins is they get left tackle Laremy Tunsil back today after he missed the week prior because of a concussion. The left tackle who was filling in for Laremy Tunsil, and I apologize, I do not remember his name, but he got released this past week because he was downright awful against the Bengals. So they're happy to have Tunsil back. You're going to be lining Khalil Mack up on the opposite side, and he's going to wreak havoc against Ryan Tannehill. Tannehill's battling a little bit of an injury himself. He is actually questionable going into the team, but fully expected to play. For the first quarter, look for a lot of Frank Gore. He's averaging 4 yards a carry. Today, he will average less than 4 yards a carry. After the first quarter, look for a lot of screen passes off to Kenyon Drake. I don't expect him to break much, if any, have a lot of yards. The Bears defense is fast, it's quick to the ball, and it very rarely misses a tackle. The only wide receiver that I know on, 2 wide receivers that I know on Miami, Kenny Stills, easily guardable. Albert Wilson, easily guardable. Tannehill is going to have a long day under center. A long day. And I'm not saying a good day, just a long, bad day for the Dolphins. The Dolphins started out hot in the regular season so far. Started to, look like it might have been a Dolphins division championship. Man, have things turned in the last 2 weeks.
Well, I want to say one thing to Miami. Look, they got Detroit next week. I'm actually going to pull their entire schedule up rather than trying to find it that way. If you look at the Dolphins' schedule, they've got Detroit next week, the Texans the following week in Houston, which I think is going to be a pick'em game, 4-5 you pick 'em. But then they get the Jets at home, Green Bay, who I don't think is very strong, Indy, who's not very strong, Buffalo. Then they got New England at home. I don't see them really. I mean, Minnesota and Jacksonville might be their next two losses. They could theoretically roll off 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in a row. 5 in a row, and 6 out of their last 10. So, 9-7, 10-6, I don't think is that far-fetched. And depending on what New England does down the stretch, because they actually, the odds makers tried to make the Patriots schedule really easy this year, and they kind of screwed up. Because when you look at New England's schedule in that same stretch, they actually got some tough opponents coming up. They have the Bears after the Chiefs this week. They've got Minnesota, Miami on the road, Pittsburgh. So 1, 2, plus they've already lost 2. 3, 4, 5. They could be 11-5, 10-6, depending on how they do against depending on how they do against their division, and even this week against Kansas City. So I think New England has a real shot at retaining the division, obviously, but they also have a real shot not to. So this game, yeah, they got off hot, and Miami showed some stuff. And losing I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Losing to Cincinnati and blowing a 17-point lead, that killed them because they lost that game, and now they've got the Bears this week, which I don't see them winning, and that's going to create some problems in Miami. But I agree. I just think the Bears have too much off the edge in Khalil Mack. I think their corners are outstanding. They don't get nearly enough credit for being as good as they are. And I really like what the Bears are doing with Tariq Cohen and that offense. And it's only going to get better, and I'm curious to see what Nagy did with a week off.
Yeah, so with that being said, and no Devontae Parker for the Dolphins, 27-13 Bears.
Nice. You got a Bear victory. Which, I mean, it's not that you're a homer, but I don't see how you would have not picked the Bears in a game where Tannehill isn't the starter. Interesting, though, you got him scoring 13 points. I'll be curious to see if any of that is garbage time results. Rams at Denver. Hopefully it snows. It's looking like it might.
Before kickoff.
That's going to be awesome, dude. I want to see my team play in the snow. All right. I'm going to talk about this game, I guess, first. So I think Peters is going to have a big game today. I think he wants to show that he is indeed 100%. But let's make no mistake about it, Eric. I've been doing a lot of research, and I found something that Terry Bradshaw said. Hold on. Something that Terry Bradshaw said, which was that in the snow, it's really the best conditions to throw the ball because the DBs slip because they don't know what to do because they're reacting while the wide receivers know exactly where they're going. So I don't think that this is going to hurt Jared Goff's MVP run. What I think is going to happen, however, is that Jared Goff isn't going to need to throw the ball because it should be the Todd Gurley show. So I expect Todd Gurley to have over 200 yards of total offense. Actually, he could have over 150 yards rushing and possibly over 100 yards receiving. He could have 250 total yards of offense. I think Jared Goff is going to sling it. I think the Rams are going to be cautious with those wide receivers coming back. They'll still throw to him, but I don't think they're going to throw to him as often. Cooks might have 50 yards receiving and a touchdown if he even gets a touchdown. Look for the tight end to be an option this week. I think the Rams need to start finding a way to do that. Defensively, I think the Rams are going to be able to tee off on Case Keenum because they're going to get an early lead. I could see the Rams jumping out to an early lead on this one, maybe 14-0, maybe even 21-3 or 21-0, something to that effect. And then the second half, they're just going to run the ball and they're just going to hammer the offense. I mean, I don't mean to sound like a homer here, but I think the Rams are going to blow Denver out. And doing that in Denver is not easy. I'm not going to go so far as say they're going to put a 40 burger on the board. I'm going to say 37-10, 37-13. Rams. And I think that the key in this game is going to be the Rams' ability to get pressure on the quarterback, which they really have been inconsistent at doing this year. They've done it in every game, but they've done it in spots in every game. They haven't done it consistently for a whole game yet, and they really need to get going on that. They also need to get turnovers, and I think that this is going to be the Patrick Peterson show. Peterson. What am I talking about, Patrick Peterson?
Patrick Peterson?
Yeah, I just totally went stupid.
Traded today.
Yeah, it just happened. Breaking news. No, I think it's going to be the Peter show. Not that he's going to show his Peter, but he's going to have a good game.
Oh, jeez.
Although he may grab his Peter like he did against Oakland, let's be honest.
It's not too early for me to catch that one.
But I think Peters is going to have a big day. I think he's going to probably even get a forced fumble in this game, coupled with his 2 picks that I'm predicting. I'm calling it now. I think the Rams' defense is going to be a big part of it. But I think it's going to be the Todd Gurley show, and I think the Rams are just going to be able to really run the ball and take that pressure off of Jared Goff that Von Miller likes to put on the quarterback. He's not going to know whether the Rams are running or throwing. And when he does think they're throwing, they might throw a screen behind him and really burn him deep. So I got a 37-13 Ram victory. You.
And set the over-under on total points at 50, and I'll take the over. Here's what the Broncos need to do to keep this game close. Win the coin toss, get the ball, run the ball, and a lot of short passes to your wide receiver. That's going to keep them in the game for a while. But you're right, it is the Todd Gurley show today, or it should be the Todd Gurley show today. I still do like Goff, coming in and splitting it around the field because that's what Goff does. He likes to get everyone involved, especially as early as he can. Because you get your wide receivers the ball in the first or second series and get everybody involved, everybody wants to play. Everybody wants the ball. Everybody's hungry. Like I said, set this game at a 50 spot, and I think the over, 31-20 Rams. I think you're going to see a close first half, and the Rams take a couple of touchdowns in the second half and put this game away. I know it's going to be cold. I know there's going to be snow. It's going to be slippery field and all that, but I don't think it's really going to affect either team that much. I do see Case Keenum throwing a couple of picks. Listen, it's already come out this week that Vance Joseph is on the hot seat. That he's going to be quote unquote monitored closely. Vance Joseph is taking control of the defensive play calling. And hey, by the way, welcome. The Rams are coming to town. Not the ideal week to say your coach is on the hot seat because A, the Broncos are going to lose. The whispers are only going to get louder, and just not the greatest time to come out and say your head coach is on the hot seat. I'm not saying give him a vote of confidence. I'm saying
keep your mouth shut.
Evaluate weekly.
Keep your mouth shut.
We evaluate weekly.
I mean,
keep your mouth shut. We evaluate weekly. Everybody watches game tape. We all see everything. So there's nothing that's really going to get past them.
All the times that they say coaches are on a hot seat, I don't get why they do it. This is just further.
I think they want to light up.
It never works that way. It never works that way. When a coach has announced that he's on the hot seat this early in the season, they don't do well. The players go, well, this a-hole isn't going to be around much longer. I don't need to listen to him. And even if they really like him, they're not going to pour their heart and soul into the effort because they don't know what the end of the year is going to hold.
They don't, but they still need to play hard to put a good game tape together in case they're a free agent next year and they say, hey, look.
Eric, they're professionals. They're professionals. That's a given, okay? And I would argue, as a coach, if I look at a guy and I see his performance improve, okay, because the coach was on a hot seat, I don't want that guy on my football team. If he needs motivation besides the dollars he's making and whatever motivational speech I may or may not give in the locker room, if you need more than that to perform at this level, you're not a football player. You're not a pro. You're a joke. So that doesn't hold weight from a coach's perspective. All it does is it creates dissension in the locker room. And I've never, ever in my life seen a coach who was on the hot seat, okay, it's announced he's on the hot seat, turn it around and do well with the exception of Tom Coughlin. That's the only one. And even that caused a rift between Coughlin and the front office that was never repaired, and it was proof in the pudding when he left the organization. And they still forced him out, and the players knew it. Every year, that gets exhausting, right? I just think it's a bad practice. Look, Denver running the ball is their only hope, but here's why I'm concerned for that only hope. I'm listening to Sue talk about how pathetic the run defense was. You know the Rams focused on that this week. You know that the Rams are looking at improving that part of their defense. And when Sue and Donald decide that they're going to do something, I don't know how anybody's going to stop them. And they're determined to stop the run. So I think the smart strategy here is, okay, Case Keenum, beat us, because you haven't beaten anybody your whole career. You didn't even beat us last year. Your defense did. You know, you don't have that same defense, so good luck. I think it's going to be very interesting to see how this game unfolds. I think you're right that's Denver's only hope, and the reason I have them scoring 13 to 10 points is because I don't see them being able to run the ball, and if they can't run the ball, that makes them really one-dimensional, which is only going to benefit Sue and Donald even further. I talked about pass rush because I'm not so worried about the running game because, like I said, they were focused on that this week. That was Monday's statement, and I think that says a lot. So, you know, we'll see what Wade Phillips, and let's not forget, it's Wade Phillips returning to Denver where he won a Super Bowl. So, you know, he's going to want to knife that team a little bit more and maybe put the...
Yeah, and just make sure you block Von Miller and Bradley Chubb.
Yeah. Well, that's for sure. All right. Baltimore at Tennessee. Look, I'm going to say it right now. I like the Titans head coach, Vrabel. I think the Titans are a fun team. And for the record, I don't think the Titans ever should have left Houston, and we should be calling them the Oilers. But I digress. Baltimore's not going anywhere. And I say that with a purpose. Baltimore loses this game, they fall out of the race. They're not falling out of the race. I think Baltimore goes into Tennessee with a plan, with a point. I think they're going to play defense. I think they're going to play offense. I think it's going to be a tight game. And I got the Baltimore Ravens because of the fact that Flacco's playing out of his mind, because that defense is really good. I think they're going to put pressure on Mariota. I think they're going to shut down the run, and they're going to force those wide receivers in Tennessee to beat them. And I don't know that they're going to be able to do that as consistently as they did against Philadelphia. I got the Ravens winning this game 17-14, and it could be an overtime game. It's going to be a low-scoring affair. It's going to be a defensive slobber knocker, but there's going to be enough offense to keep people excited. And I expect John Brown to have a touchdown, and I expect the Ravens to get a touchdown on the ground. And I think that they're going to control the game in the fourth quarter when they need to, between Flacco completing third down conversions and the running game taking time off the clock. I could see the Ravens milking the final 5 minutes of the game right down to the end and beating Tennessee that way. It's going to be a fun game to watch, but it's also going to be a test of wills between these two great defenses.
Yes, Flacco is playing out of his mind. Last week really hit the nail on the head. Okay. Jekyll, meet Hyde. Hyde, I want to introduce you to Jekyll. That's the perfect game for this. I love it. I want to watch this game because Tennessee is going to beat their butts.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, you heard it. Tennessee Titans are beating the Ravens today. Marcus Mariota is having over 75 yards on the ground. On the ground. He's going to do it. He's going to do it all. He's going to pass. He's going to run. He might even take the extra points, too. Hey, I'm just saying. Anything's possible. Vrabel is running this ship for the Titans. Titans. The only thing they need to do is play the Vikings. Anyways, Marcus Mariota is going to be the biggest key in this game. I'm sorry, but I don't think the Ravens are... I think they're falling, and they're going to fall hard. And I know Flacco, he can play great. But when he's throwing a Crabtree, he's dropping 9 out of 10 balls, you got to find somewhere else to go. And he's been dropping balls in crucial situations. And I like how you said John Brown gets a touchdown. He gets a touchdown against a blown coverage. But it's not enough. Titans can stop the run, so it doesn't matter if Collins or Allen are running. I like that you gave the Titans 14. That's great, but that's going to be what the Ravens score. They're going to score 14, and the Titans are going to score 23. 23-14 Titans, and Mariota is going to have a great game.
You cannot argue that Flacco has had a career year so far.
Yes, I can. The year he won the Super Bowl.
He's having similar numbers as that year, Eric. That's what I'm saying. And we'll I'm not saying he's an MVP.
This season is still young.
It is. We're only a quarter of the way through it, a little over, and I get that. And I'm not saying he's an MVP candidate, but Flacco's playing with a purpose this year that we haven't seen since the Super Bowl year. And you hit the nail on the head. Crabtree's dropping passes. It's not that the passes aren't getting it where they're supposed to be. It's the fact that this guy can't catch the football. Okay. Jacksonville at Dallas. I got really little to say about this game. I think when your wide receivers are Cole Beasley, Tavon Austin, and whoever the other friggin' guy is, I don't even know your tight end, and all you have is Ezekiel. Who? Hearns? Oh, that's right.
Allen Hurns.
Okay. And all you've got is Ezekiel Elliott. Let's not forget that those two corners have covered Allen Robinson and Hearns for most of their career to this point. So, every day in practice. I'm not worried about Jacksonville against Dallas. If I'm a Cowboy fan, I like Jason Garrett. I'm not a Cowboy fan. I like Jason Garrett. I'm excited because keep losing, because you're going to fire Garrett, and someone's going to get a coaching gold mine next year. On the flip side, if I'm a Cowboy fan, I like Garrett, I'm nervous because this isn't going to be a win, and it's going to continue to spiral into ugly. I think Jacksonville is going to win this game 28-10. I think that, the Cowboys defense will keep it close. I could see the Jags scoring a touchdown per quarter. I could see Dallas keeping it interesting at halftime. But I just think ultimately once the Cowboy model is figured out by Jacksonville, and it will be by halftime, I don't think Dallas does anything. As good as a back as Ezekiel Elliott is, he can't do it on his own. You need to have holes, and you need to have an opportunity to run the ball, which I don't see him getting. I think that this is going to be a bounce-back game for Blake Bortles. I think it's going to be a bounce-back game for that Jaguar defense, and I expect Jacksonville to lay the hammer down when it matters, which is the second half of this game, and really build that separation. I got Jacksonville winning 28-10.
Yeah, I think Dallas's only bright spot in this game is that it's actually in Dallas, and we've seen what Jacksonville looks like on the road, especially last week against Kansas City. And that's taking away what they did up in New England. The only way Dallas keeps this close, A, it's at home, and B, you run the crap out of Ezekiel Elliott. You say, big guy, this is your game. You're leading us. All Prescott has to do is not fumble the ball, handing off between him and Elliott. And when Elliott is taking a breather, give it to Rod Smith. This is going to be a run game for Dallas, as it should be, because I can't count on the three wide receivers that you mentioned, Austin, Beasley, and Allen Hurns. Jalen Ramsey is going to play, so he is going to be on one of those wide receivers, so take them away. So you have two or three targets that you can throw to. 2 out of 3 wide receivers, and then Elliott. On the flip side of the ball, listen, Dallas has a good defense. Okay, they keep in the game. They can keep the ball in front of them. They can create turnovers. And who's good at giving away turnovers? Blake Bortles. I expect this to be a Jacksonville win, but low scoring. 16-13 Jacksonville.
Ooh, you actually have a close game. Interesting.
Yes, battle of field goal kicking.
Well, I think that Blake Bortles is going to have to play better if they want a chance to win this game. All right, Eric. I'll let you start with this one. Sunday night, I think it's the game of the week. I think it's the right game to put on TV. What do you got?
Stats galore in this game, guys. Stats galore. So, quarterbacks, 25 and under, going into New England. 0-23 all time in the Bill Belichick era. Here's another stat for you. You guys like history. Teams that walk into New England with a better record than the Patriots in the Bill Belichick area, 11 wins, 30 losses. The Patriots have won the last 11 games during that time. And who's coming in with a better record? The Kansas City Chiefs. The Kansas City Chiefs are giving up yards at an insurmountable amount of yards that they're giving up. They cannot keep winning at this pace by doing that and giving up yards and points at what seems to be a near record pace. And when you go into New England, I don't care if New England was going to Kansas City. When you're playing New England, what does Bill Belichick do? And you've said this many times in the last year. You take away your best player.
Yep.
You're not going to take away Tyreek Hill. You made early game plan for Travis Kelce. Kareem Hunt hasn't been what he's used to, and Dante Hightower is healthy. He's quick, and he can take down Hightower right at the line of scrimmage. Or he can take Hunt down right at the line of scrimmage. Who are you going to take away? Patrick Mahomes.
Mm-hmm.
Patrick Mahomes is going to get his first taste of playing a team that actually game plans for him. Because how do you not game plan for a quarterback? It just seems like nobody has game planned for Mahomes. He's had great outings since week one. That's why him and Goff are 1 and 1A in MVP race right now, and then it's everybody else.
Yep.
And 2 is Khalil Mack.
Yeah.
There's no 2 players on the offensive side of the ball who are playing better. Mahomes is playing out of his mind great. Andy Reid has had great game plans up until this week. And I'm saying that because I haven't seen the game plan because they haven't played yet.
Yeah.
What is MVP chances take a hit tonight in Foxborough?
You ask
the Patriots on the offensive side of the ball are getting healthy. I see Gronk with a big game. Josh Gordon comes out and plays a ton of snaps. And Julian Edelman is going to tear up the Chiefs past the linebackers. Going to get a ton of catches and a ton of first downs for New England to sustain drive. And then, oh, by the way, once Edelman doesn't make the catch, we're just going to throw it to James White. Expect James White to have a big game catching the ball. White and Edelman, 2 guys who are going to go over 100 yards receiving. A slot receiver and a running back. And then, oh, by the way, Sony Michel. Yeah, here's 100 yards for you. Because the Chiefs defense gives up yards.
Yeah.
Tom Brady is going to sustain drives. He's going to say, you know what, we're not going for the home run ball today. We don't need to go for the home run ball. We control the clock and we win this game. But New England's going to score, and they're going to score at will. 38-28, Patriots.
Ooh, your score is so close to mine. Look, I'm a believer in the Chiefs. I want to start by saying that. I'm a firm believer in Kansas City and what they were able to do so far this year. But I think even the most hardened Chief fan would agree that this is not a game that they can win. They can win, but it's probably not a game they're going to win. You're looking at the Chiefs' schedule and you're saying, if they don't lose here, they got Cincinnati next week. At what point, because eventually they're going to start getting into division play, do we have to consider the Chiefs to be, where are they going to lose at this point? Look, I think Sony Michel, in my opinion, is going to be the secret X factor when this game is all said and done. I think he's going to have over 100 yards rushing. I think he's going to have a few touchdowns. And I think he's going to really be able to milk that clock. I think that you are right, that they give up points. They give up yards. And Mahomes has not seen the Bill Belichick coached machine. While the Patriots defense isn't what it used to be, it is getting healthy. It is getting back there. And Belichick is taking over the play calling, or at least contributing in the play calling. All of that spells bad news for Mahomes. I think that this game is going to be fun to watch early. And I think by halftime, you're going to sit there and go, I think New England's about to take over the game. And by the end of the third quarter, you will be correct. Tom Brady isn't going to go for the home run ball because he can't go for the home run ball anymore. I think he's going to try a few times to go deep to Gordon. I think Gordon will make him look good on a couple of catches where he goes up and wins a 50-50 ball. But I think it's going to be further proof that this quarterback, Father Time, I'm going to say it right now, has caught up with Tom Brady. And we're seeing it in pieces this year, and we'll see it as the season unfolds. But this is not the day. With that defense and with how much he can go, because he's still great underneath, really accurate. He's turned into a West Coast quarterback more than ever. And he's always kind of been there in that category. But I think White's going to have a big day. Edelman's going to have a good day. I think Gronk is due for a breakout game. Look, I think Kelsey's going to get his. I think Taylor's going to get his. Mahomes going to play well enough, but not well enough to win. I got the Patriots winning this game 37-20.
Listen, what are the Patriots good at besides cheating? Making in-game adjustments. Making adjustments week to week. And that's what they've been doing ever since they got off to that rough start in the first 3 games of the season.
Well, and they know what their weaknesses are, and they fix it. I mean, that's the bottom line, and that's what I think they're going to do.
Right.
All right. San Francisco at Green Bay is the Monday night game. I feel bad for Monday Night Football that they put this game on. It's two bad teams playing each other, but it's one really bad team against Aaron Rodgers. Look, there's not a lot to say here. Packers 35, 49ers 3. 35.
Right, guys,
Packers 35, 49ers 3.
If the Packers defense is still available in your fantasy league, go pick them up now. And thank me later.
Yeah.
Listen, there's not much to say on this game. And I'll tell you why. Because the Packers are going to do everything on offense in the first half, and then they're going to pin their ears back and say, go ahead, San Francisco, give us your best shot.
Right.
And that's what it's going to come down to.
And they're going to try to find the running game because they don't want to risk Rodgers. I could see it being 28-3 at halftime, maybe 21-3, and they get a couple of touchdowns, maybe a defensive one somewhere in there in the second half. That's why I said 35-3. I don't see the 49ers on defense. They were already a vulnerability, right? They have so many holes on defense. If there was one good thing for 49er fans about the injury to Jimmy Garoppolo is I think it kind of smacked them in the face with a little bit more reality. You know, there was talk like they were going to overtake the Rams this year and that they were the next big thing and that the Rams, they would only be on top for so long and the Niners are coming. But with Garoppolo's injury, you realize we don't have a wide receiver. We don't have a running game. I don't care how good Britt has been playing. He's not that good. Well, I know. I know that. But even this year, the games he's performed in has been moments when they expected the 49ers to throw, not run. They have no receiver.
And Britt has been the lone bright spot of that team on the offensive side of the ball.
Right. So they have no wide receivers. They have an okay running game. Their offensive line is aging. Their defense is horrendous on all phases. The front four, the linebackers, and the secondary. So there's real problems for San Francisco right now. And this is not the game to go on the road and play in and show that. And I think 49er fans are going to get painfully made aware of just how far away from the Rams they really are, even with Jimmy G in the lineup. So I think this is going to be a whitewash. And it's nice because you can turn it off at halftime and spend time with your family. Grade papers if you're a teacher. Do whatever you're going to do, right?
Yeah, the most points that I could see San Francisco scoring is maybe 10 points in the whole game.
Yeah.
You know, as much as it pains me to say it, if there was ever a week to rest Aaron Rodgers and play DeShone Kizer, this is the week.
Yeah.
And if you really want to get Aaron Rodgers healthy, then you let Aaron Jones take over. You tell your wide receivers, listen, we know we can win this game. We're going to win this game. Because A, we have to keep up with the Bears. B, we can't let the Vikings pass us, even though we tied it the first time we played them. And C, we want to be healthy for when the weather turns, and we need to defend home field advantage.
Right.
Okay. So this is the ultimate Aaron Jones game. This is the ultimate Jimmy Graham game. Because you don't want to keep Rodgers in the pocket for 4 or 5 seconds to where he can survey the field and then have to roll out. Because if he has to roll out, he had to put on his big bulky brace because he had a setback against the Detroit Lions.
Yeah.
You don't want that.
No.
You want Rodgers healthy, and to be honest, Rodgers might not be healthy until after the season's over.
Oh, for sure.
But if you want Rodgers closer to 100% than any other week this year, this is the week outside of bye week that you could sit. And you could say, listen, Aaron, we're protecting your health. We have to protect you and from everybody else.
Well, they could even theoretically bench him at halftime because they'll have such a big lead and go that route.
And you know what? That's a possibility too. I might actually, if I were Mike McCarthy, game plan for that.
Yeah.
To say, Aaron, go nuts in the first half, throw your 4 or 5 touchdowns, and then we're going to rest you.
Yeah.
You might just have to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Just to be able to keep his stats intact. Because what did you do to Aaron Rodgers in the offseason? You gave him one of the highest guaranteed contracts. So, of course, you're not going to bench him. That would look bad. Green Bay fans might understand. Aaron Rodgers might understand, but that's not what anybody wants.
Well, you got to bet. You got to
protect his health.
You got to protect your future. Yeah, exactly.
Right, exactly.
All right, listen. I want to wrap up.
A lot for Green Bay, very little for San Francisco.
We'll go with that. Look, I want to cover this game real quick because we won't get to it in time. Denver at Arizona, Thursday Night Football. Get a load of this, Eric. Denver leads the all-time series 8-1-1 is their record. They tied the first time they met in 73, 17-17, and they only lost, their first loss ever against the Cardinals was in 2010. That was Cutler's rookie year, I believe. Or it might have been Tebow's rookie year. I can't remember.
Cutler was on the Bears.
Okay, so that was Tebow's rookie year. They beat him 43-13. That's it. That's the only time the Cardinals have ever won. The last time they played, 2014, Denver beat them 41-20. Denver's going to dominate this game. Denver owns this series, and every time the Cardinals play the Broncos, it doesn't end well for Denver, or for Arizona. I don't care if they're Arizona, St. Louis, but especially, I remember 89, Denver beat them 37-0 with backups at the end of the year. And this is a bad matchup historically. And I look at Rosen and go, is Rosen better than Keenum? Maybe. He's got to prove that. But I will take Chubb and Miller over that Cardinals offensive line 10 out of 10 times. And I don't see how they're going to be able to stop the Broncos pass rush. I think Denver's going to be mad from losing at home to the Rams. And I think they need to win this game to make a statement and to stay somewhat in the conversation for a fleeting division. I think the Broncos are going to win that one. I'm not going to give you a score, but I think Denver's going to win it certainly by 10 points or more. Your takeaway on that one real quick?
Listen, that year, 2010, the Cardinals were 5-11, and the Broncos were 4-12.
Yeah.
Okay, so there were 2 bad teams playing in that game. So, the Cardinals just need to rely on David Johnson. Just give it to Johnson and call it a day, for crying out loud. I do like the Broncos in that game. I think it's going to be too much Broncos defense against Rosen. And I'll take the Broncos in a win. I'll go more into that and what we do when we review these games next week, and then we can maybe go into that Thursday night game a little bit more.
Okay. Well, I mean, if we get...
But I do have some news for you guys that I think is very important. Ryan Tannehill is now doubtful with a sprained AC joint in the Bears-Dolphins game. And it's going to be the Brock Osweiler show against the Bears.
Well, that's good. I'm glad I got the Bears D this week.
Right?
Yeah, so, guys, I'm going to wrap up with this. I had a fantasy game last week against Mike. I talked a little bit about this in the last show where I had no business winning. But I have a question for you, Eric. Now that I did win that game, are you concerned that I'm about to go 10-3 and get the number 2 seed, if not the 1 seed in your fantasy league this year as we get ready to play each other in the championship game?
Not at all.
You're not? All right. Well, I will be seeing you in the championship game, as you so eloquently put it, after this league that we're in is so lame. Dude, get a load of this trade. By the way, the person I'm mentioning also is in the MVP conversation. I think you could put him at 3 or 4. I think it's Goff, Mahomes, Khalil Mack, and Phillip Rivers. I offered Phillip Rivers to a guy who had Alex Smith and some other guy on his bench that's not even – I don't even know who it is. But it was a bad –
I think he had Flacco or Mariota.
No, he had Alex Smith. Or no, maybe it was Flacco and Mariota. I offered him Phillip Rivers for Thompson and Cooper Kupp. And I was even willing to throw in Jordy Nelson, who that was the week he had that big game against Miami. Would not make the trade. I ended up being like, okay. Then Eric, you tried making a trade that they wouldn't make, and the guy's like, no, I'd rather blow my team up or something like that.
Yeah, actually, Dalvin Cook was being ruled out, and I picked up Latavius Murray. And I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to start Murray, but I'm going to see if, because I got him, if the guy we got Cook, would trade him to me for, like, Golden Tate or one of his other, or either, like, Hurts or Jordan Reed. And he didn't take the deal, and I'm glad I didn't start Murray, but I was trying to be like, hey, you know what, instead of trying to pick this guy up, I could trade him to you. I need a wide receiver, or I could use a tight end, either or. And they just wouldn't do it. And I'm like, okay. And they ended up both losing that week. And I'm like, well, I mean, it could have helped you. It would have helped me more, but whatever.
Yeah, it's all good. We're going to see each other in the championship game. All right, I'm Anthony.
I'm Eric.
Go Rams.
And go Bears. Bear down.
And horns up. Guys, keep watching. Keep subscribing. Get some people to subscribe. I want to get up to 2,000 here pretty soon. Hopefully you guys listen and hit up LT. LT, you got a great show. I hope you get to that 1,000 subscribers. Clash of the Horns is a phenomenal show, too. That guy is all over YouTube, everywhere, in comment sections, on top of what he does. So keep an eye on him. He's pretty cool and pretty great to watch. To all the fans, all the people that have been consistent, you guys know who you are. You're always consistently in the comments. I'm going to have a laundry list of names to thank next week after the Rams game, or after we do the review. So just keep watching, guys. We love it. We appreciate it. Thank you so much, and have a great one. See you later.